This is the new Aniioke A8 Pro Max dual motor. I've always wondered what the smaller wheeled bike would do on rougher roads and maneuverability. And I've never had a bike with suspension in the rear, so I was pretty interested in that since I ride a lot of rough roads. I've been watching these bikes for quite a while, and this one finally caught my eye, and I'll explain why. We can start with the smaller wheels, which lower the center of gravity, and I wondered what else they might do. Instead of putting a thin tire with not very good tread, they put a much heavier duty tire, which has thick tread and thicker sidewalls. Of course, it probably takes more power to run these heavier tires. So far, they've worked pretty well on the gravel and dirt that I've had them on, and have worked fine on pavement, though they make a bit of noise because they're kind of knobby. I'm just coasting at 26.7. Because coasting is fun. Twisted the throttle there a bit. 40, 41. Since I ride on a variety of surfaces, it's always a balance between tires that ride well on pavement and have enough grip to be safe off-road on dirt and gravel. The heavier sidewalls and beads are causing people some problems getting them mounted properly. As like other heavy tires, the tire bead and rim should be lubricated with soapy water before they're inflated. So I deflated mine, lubricated them up with some soapy water, which I sprayed on, but you can wipe on with a piece of paper towel or a rag. And then I inflated them slowly while sort of squeezing them around the edges to make sure they seated well. Then check them by rotating to see how round they are. Mine came out fine. There's a bit of confusion about tire sizes and what to put in the setup menu as the tire diameter, though this tire is listed as a 20-inch by 4-inch. It's more accurately described by 100 by 90-16, which means 100 millimeters wide or 3.9 inches or so. And the tire's height is 90% of the width, so it's a little shorter than it is wide. And it goes on a 16-inch rim. The overall tire diameter is a little less than 22 3/4 inches. So the setup menu wheel diameter should be 22, not 20, which is what mine came at. With that setting, my bike speed exactly matches the GPS speed, and even more important, the distance traveled matches also. On my last ride of 35.4 miles, the bike and the GPS reading were within 1/10 of a mile of each other. One other important point, the bike manual specified the wrong PSI reading for the tire that I have, and when I inflated it close to what they said, which is higher than the tire says, it blew the tire off of the rim and popped the tube, which I saw happen to a reviewer also. I just ordered some better tubes from Amazon and put flat out in them after I got them. My tires specify 5 to 30 pounds. I stay well below that maximum, but I'm still experimenting to see what I like best. But mostly I'm just above and just below 20, trying to get better handling on bumpy gravel roads and still be efficient on pavement. Then there are the giant brakes. Are they overkill? Are they too heavy and too much rotating mass? Well, that would be an interesting, detailed experiment, but what I do know is that they're big, have a lot of mass to absorb heat, and stop the bike really fast, though so far I haven't even pushed them very hard. I bedded them in slowly when I first got the bike, over a week or two even, and still haven't slammed them on in any kind of an emergency stop. But it is amazing how gentle pressure on them does such a good job of slowing the bike going down steep hills, even gravel slippery hills. So I'm pretty impressed with them, and think they gave us more than they had to, just like the tires. And it isn't just the size of the disc that is better. 4 pistons are better than 2 pistons because they allow you to put more pressure on the disc. That may be why you get a lot of brake force without much effort. Then there are the motors. And the second motor gives you options that you don't have with only a single motor. Anytime you need extra power to climb a hill, keep up with traffic, or just want to have a little fun zooming. After watching reviews of other dual motor bikes, I appreciate the design choice to put a weaker motor up front. Since there's less weight up there, it would create a better balance. We'll go into that a bit more later. But it's easy to switch back and forth between 2 motors in one, and I find one motor sufficient for many of the roads I ride on. If you watch my other videos, you'll see how often I use it and when. But I also like to zoom a bit.
This is 35, almost 36, 37, whoa. Still at level 6 only. Have to remember the cruise control kicks in after 5 seconds or so, and you can let go of the throttle. No turkeys. You can stop cruise control by touching the brake. I'm in PA 6, doing 26, pedaling. like the way this bike curves. Still doing 26. I think the Kepler would have been down to 17. I think one motor on this would have been down to that probably too also. Second motor is really helpful out here. EA9. 45. 42 in the hill, top of the hill. Remember, this is adaptive mode. 2 green wheels, which is not quite full power. Just 2 blue wheels on this panel here. Full power does use more power. I got a pretty big hill here. I've been breaking the brakes in slowly, but they're probably pretty broken in by now, or bedded in. Yeah, it's a tough turn either way. I think I like the other one better. I'm gonna turn around and go down instead of trying to cut that corner.
There have been a lot of comments on other dual-motored bikes about the front tire spinning when you start out or on taking corners. Many of those are the same power motor front and back, even though there's less weight on the front than the back. This bike seems to be well balanced, and I haven't had any surprises in the traction differences. Of course, I don't intentionally try to spin the wheels and be abusive to a bike, but I know the front wheel is only spun a little bit once on loose gravel when I started out quickly. And climbing this steep gravel hill with large speed bumps in it that help the water to drain to the side, this bike just climbed over it in two-wheel drive and went right up. No drama at all. I went up this hill in my Kepler before the bumps were here, and it was a bit of a struggle.
Boy, they put some big bumps in here to stop it from washing out.
I really appreciated the all-wheel drive on this hill, and not just because the front wheel was being driven, but the extra torque made it a lot easier.
Not really going any faster than that. I'm in PA2, another 9 miles an hour. I'm happy enough, especially to get stuff like that. I didn't used to be here. I've only been here twice. Wheel isn't slipping unnecessarily. Going left. Because I've got a hill. Going up a hill. 36. And pedaling some. 28. Throttle's still on now. That's still 28. That's adaptive drive. 2 green wheels.
All this power isn't much good if you can't control it. So this bike has adjustable pedal assist settings so that you can match them to fit the way you ride and where you ride. I see a lot of comments from people that don't pay much attention to these, especially those that ride slowly or on smooth pavement all the time. But I need control at slow speeds too. I want to pedal down to 5 miles an hour on difficult terrain, and I don't want the throttle to be too jumpy either. To get into the setup menu, long press the left button, and you'll see this screen. Push the down button and it'll move to the right section that's orange right now. Push M again. Push the down button until you get down to assistance gear. Push M again. and choose how many pedal assist levels you want, or gears. I chose 9, made 4 for slow and the rest for fast. Push the right arrow to return. Push the down button again until you see gear detail down at the bottom there. Push M again, and you'll get the gear detail screen. I start out very low because I want to be able to pedal and use the throttle at very low speeds. If I don't need the slow speeds, I just skip over them. The 10% works out to be about 5 miles an hour, 20% works out to be about 10, 30% is around 14 to 15, and the rest go up from there. If I'm on a bumpy, curvy road, I'll spend a lot of time in PA4, switching to 5 when it straightens out. I've readjusted mine a number of times and probably am not done yet, so do what makes you feel comfortable. This is a great feature that some bikes don't have. While you're in here messing around, you can go up to the wheel diameter setting and change it from 20 to 22, and down to speed limit and change it up to 81. While we're here, I'll mention the current limit. Mine came set to 15 amps. It goes up to 31 amps. Technically speaking, 15 amps times 52 volts equals 780 watts, or not enough to fully take advantage of either motor. If it was set to 31 amps times 52 volts, that equals 1612 watts. You'd think that higher would be more powerful somehow, but I've done rides at 15, 22, 25, and 31 and haven't noticed a lot of difference. So I'm still doing some experiments on this. If you have any thoughts on this, leave them in a comment below. While we're talking about PAS levels and gears, it's a good time to note that the throttle is tied to the PAS level setting. That is to say, if you're in level 2, set to 20%, the throttle will go to 20% only. The good side of that is that it makes the throttle less sensitive in lower PA levels when you're trying to go slow. The downside is you can't set PA level to 0 and then use the throttle as pedal assist like I really had to do on the Kepler, which did not have pedal assist level adjustments. According to the manual, the A8 Pro Max single motor version can be set either way on the throttle, but they left that feature out of this one. While we're busy pushing buttons, let's turn on the lights because that doesn't match the manual either. So long press the up button, the light goes on. You have a separate switch for high and low beams. But the screen went dim. It doesn't look so bad now on the camera because it corrected it some. But in the daytime, it's very dim. There's no official way to get that bright again. But if you push the left button, it puts the screen to sleep. If you count to 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and turn it back on again, the screen will be right again. That's 5 seconds, not a fast 5 count. That won't be enough. And then I can put it back to, I can put to sleep with the left button. If you stop on a ride, you can put it to sleep while you're taking a break and not turn the bike off. That will keep all your trip recording. Then you can just push left again or any other button to wake it back up again when you're ready to go. But remember, if the bike is going to be sitting for a long time, to turn it off as usual. While we're looking at a screen, the center M button cycles through the drive settings from rear, front, full power blue, adaptive mode green, and the up and down buttons change the gear or PAS mode up in the top. The trip meter is at the bottom upper left and resets when the bike is shut down. The odometer is below that and stays until it's reset in the setup menu. The actual time is over on the right side there if you've set it correctly, and the run time below that is the duration of the current trip. The center battery shaped thing is a battery meter. The number below that can either be voltage or percentage. I usually keep it on percentage. Right now it's on voltage because I'm testing things. The pretty meters to the left and the right, I don't have time to look at while I'm riding, so I haven't used them much. Mine came with the remote key fob and key. I saw a couple reviews that did not have that. Perhaps that was an earlier version and they went ahead and added the alarm and key to it later. Now the only way to turn the bike on and off is with the key fob, so don't lose it. It did come with two. The seat is adjustable with that large red clamp up far higher than I need it, but on this bike I'm able to keep it low enough so I can tippy-toe on the ground and still pedal effectively, partly because the seat is longer and set back further and at an angle. I even moved the seat about 1.5 inches or 2 inches further back on the post. On my last 35-mile ride, I started getting a little bit numb. I should have taken more breaks, but just for kicks I bought a gel overlay, and I'll try that on the next ride. Well, you know I'm going to make some changes to it. I moved the button assembly over next to my left thumb where I can use it easier, then had to move the headlights to the right because I don't use them that much. I added a lightweight handlebar extension to hold all my stuff. Phone holders, camera holders, good grief. That also allowed me to move the screen up to that upper level where it's easier to see. I also added in my bungee parking brake that I developed for the other bike that stows away when not in use. I find it very useful. I like to pedal and help the bike out when I'm out on long rides, and one thing this bike needed was higher gearing. So I replaced the 14-tooth to 28-tooth freewheel in the back with an 11-tooth to 28-tooth for higher speed pedaling. There are a lot of videos on YouTube about how to do this. It just takes the proper freewheel remover, which I'll list in the description together with this freewheel. It was actually quite an easy job, and I'm not a bike mechanic. I did call some local bike shops in case somebody could do it for me, but basically received some blank stares over the phone. Then in front I swapped out the 52-tooth chainring with a 58-tooth. This does have an outer chain guard like the original, but it was one piece instead of two, so it was a little thinner, which made the barrel bolts just a little bit too long. I first put some aluminum shims in there, but then I ordered some shorter barrel bolts from Amazon. I'll link those in the description also, together with this chainring. So those 5 barrel bolts come out, the old chainring slips over the pedal, the new one slips back on and bolts into place. I've pedaled up to 37 miles an hour, but that's really moving for me. 34 or so is more possible. Before the change, it was more like 24. I've also decided to leave a headlight and tail light on while I'm riding. So although I figured out how to make the screen brighter with the built-in lights, I still added an accessory headlight and tail light. The tail light is velcroed to the original light with a small strip. I don't need to take it off for charging, but I can if I want to. I've noted some clunking noises that I thought were from the suspension bottoming out or something.
Shit, I've been on that other one up there too.
But I recently noticed a little movement on the stem when I held the front brake tight and pushed forward on the bike. There was a bit of movement, which meant the stem was loose. So the 2 bolts clamping the stem have to be loosened here and on the other side. And the fork bolt seemed to also be interfering with it. So I loosened that also. Then tighten the stem bolt. Put your left hand on the front brake, clamp it tight, and push forward on the handlebars to see if there's any movement left. And tighten it until there isn't any movement. Then align the handlebars and tighten the fork bolt, then the stem bolts on both sides. I haven't been out yet to test this, but it was loose, so it needed to be tightened anyway, and that's probably what it was.
5, 6. PA6 about all I'm going to need on this road. That's 37. 35. 25 pedaling. 28 pedaling, 29 pedaling, 30 pedaling, 32 pedaling. 35 stop pedaling. Well, that was a fun little trip.